Today's lesson on human body systems, we are looking at the respiratory system. So here on the left-hand side, our diagram, we have the parts of the respiratory system. So we have here the larynx, this tube-like structure. Here is the trachea, and we'll talk about these in more detail. We've got the lungs right here, and we have the bronchus, bronchioles, we have the alveolus and alveoli, and again we'll talk about those in a little bit more detail. And then we have this structure here going across, that's called the diaphragm. All right, so the respiratory system, it moves air in and out of the body. This in and out movement of air is what supplies us with oxygen for our cells, and it also removes our waste, which is the carbon dioxide. Okay, so we take in the oxygen and we are removing the carbon dioxide from our blood, and when we exhale, we are returning the carbon dioxide back out into the air, so outside of our body. So when we inhale, this is when we breathe in. This is when our lungs are filled with oxygen. And then exhale, that's when we breathe out and we are getting rid of the carbon dioxide in our body. Okay, so that is the waste, the carbon dioxide. All right, so breathing. So breathing occurs because of our rib and diaphragm muscles. All right, so when we inhale, our muscles contract, pulling our ribs up and our diaphragm down. So looking at this diagram here, we're taking air in during inhalation. So our muscles are contracting, pulling our ribs up, and our diaphragm moves downward. When we exhale, so in this diagram here, exhaling, the air is coming out. So our muscles relax so that our ribs go down, our diaphragm goes back upwards. All right, and that also is decreasing the size of our chest and lungs, which also forces the air out. Okay, so let's keep going here with the respiratory system and the gas exchange process next. So there are tube-like passageways in the lungs that are called the bronchi. So the air goes into the lungs through the bronchi. So I'm just going to skip back here to this previous diagram here. So again, it was a larynx, trachea, and then we have these two tubes here. Individually or singular, they're called bronchus, but there would be two of them. That's why they're called bronchi. So those bronchi are going into the lungs. So air goes into the lungs through those tube-like structures called the bronchi. And they are lined with tough connective tissue to keep the walls from collapsing. So they have like a rigid structure. Then they narrow into smaller tubes called bronchioles. So I'm just going to go back to that figure again. Within here, we'll see these branch-like structures, and those are called bronchioles. All right, so those bronchioles, there's many of them, and they end with tiny air-filled sacs called alveoli. There's about 600 million of them, and this is the site of gas exchange. So these alveoli, they're surrounded by capillaries, which are tiny blood vessels, and the alveoli and the capillaries, they're made of specialized epithelial tissue that's only one cell layer thick. And that's very important because that allows air in the alveoli and the blood inside the capillaries. The distance is therefore very short, so gas exchange can occur very rapidly. The air in the alveoli will have a high concentration of oxygen and a low concentration of carbon dioxide. So therefore, the blood in the capillaries has a low concentration of oxygen and a high concentration of carbon dioxide. So therefore, diffusion will occur. All right, so oxygen will naturally diffuse from the alveoli into the capillaries, and then the carbon dioxide will naturally diffuse in the other direction. All right, and like I said, it's the one cell layer thick, so therefore it takes only 1 second for blood to travel through your lungs, pick up as much oxygen, and release the carbon dioxide. All right, so in this diagram here, we see the alveoli, and we can see that they are hollow sacs and they're surrounded by capillaries. So all of this network we see in the red and blue, those are the blood vessels called capillaries. So gas exchange is happening in the alveoli. All right, so this is a bronchiole, and this is an alveolus here. And so blood that is rich in oxygen from lungs is shown in red, and blood that is rich in carbon dioxide from the body is shown in blue. All right, and then here we can see the gas exchange happening. Okay, so the carbon dioxide is going to move into the alveolus, back through the bronchiole, back through the bronchi so that we can breathe it out. And then the oxygen that we have just inhaled will move into the alveolus, and then from the alveolus it will move into our blood. And from our blood, the blood will take it all over to all the cells of our body so that all our cells will get the oxygen it needs.